कि मैं इंग्लिश में ज़्यादा बोलता हूँ तो प्लीज़ डोंट माइंड. So
you can wait so.
Brahm. Photograph.
thank you for coming and participating in this book launch, Strategic Consulting Dynamics and Navigating the Frameworks, Model, Intervention, Best Practices for Global Advisory Services. ये बुक का इंस्पिरेशन मुझे मिला जब मैं एक वर्कशॉप डिलीवर कर रहा था for a large consulting company, and some of the younger consultants asked me that please share some of the frameworks and models which we can use, and which one do you rate as the highest ones. And based on that, I wrote this book where the fundamental frameworks, which are the building blocks for some of the advanced frameworks that we are going to come across, will be covered. Most of them have been written by researchers in 70s and 80s at MIT, at Kellogg's Business School, and at Harvard. And we use them in all our businesses, all of our strategies, all of our academics literature. What I've also come across that these have changed in 90s and 2000s and 2010 onwards, and new frameworks have come. So I've not touched those new models which have come, which are yet to be taught in India. But I think that those new frameworks and models have an underlying baseline which comes from these existing standards. The likes of Michael Porter, Professor Michael Porter, has written a lot of these external analysis, internal analysis, industry analysis, and all that. And this book covers that. And then these have got transformed into value chain and other areas which are some of these areas I have written some papers and will be published soon as well. Another element which got me into writing this book was when I did my CMA level 7, I struggled a lot for many years. My wife Shalini is here. We went to Norway once and celebrated my son's birthday. And all the while when they were in Oslo, I was blocked in a room thinking how to write. Because you're supposed to write 2 papers and 2 intervention papers. And you only get the certificate once your papers are through. Level 1 paper and level 2 paper on consulting. And how do you do interventions on those? So I also thought that it is time to share this, because I also want to go forward and build something new in terms of knowledge, and share this particular aspect of knowledge in the sense of what are the intervention models. Although I think I will be putting another edition to this book, which looks at how do you deal with underlying elements. One of the topics I learned in MIT Sloan in the US was on organization dynamics. In consulting engagements, how do you take care of the unknowns? How do you take care of things which you don't know? How do you take care of characters who might suddenly come after 6 months or 9 months you have done your work and bring a new perspective to it? And you need to analyze those and you need to look at those models. This book does not cover that yet, but second edition of this book will cover those aspects. What this book does cover is evolution of consulting. It covers the art of storytelling, and where last 2 years, I spent time in English Institute of Management, Kashipur, learning analytics. So data visualization using Tableau and how you can, leverage Tableau in storytelling. How you can leverage data itself in storytelling and the various, principles in terms of human psychology in storytelling. The art of problem solving. How do you solve complex problems, right? How do you keep the teams motivated? How do you bring change? What are the 3 phases of change? Then the types of consulting, there are various models of consulting, consultant toolkits, the interventions we can do in terms of how do you want to operate, because every consultant has limited time. And within that 8 hours, 10 hours of the day, he has to manage things and not get drained out so that he can work next week, next month, next quarter, and not be completely exhausted with the consulting engagement he gets into. Then the global perspective of how emerging markets consulting might be very different. And here the focus is emerging market because India comes in emerging markets. Whereas developed markets like US, Europe and other markets, there will be certain other consideration when it comes to consulting. Ethical consideration, conflict of interest when it comes to consulting. The future of consulting, now that we are in the gig economy, how does artificial intelligence, data science affect consulting itself? Most of the things which we think are novel might be something you can easily get out of in ChatGPT, kind of manage a consulting business. How do you do pricing? How do you keep client engagement? And while you're doing client engagement, you have to keep your skills updated also. So those are also important because you can't just come out of a consulting engagement, let's say for 12 months, and you suddenly realize that skills have changed. You're requiring new skills and those are no longer relevant. For me, I have 2 decades of industry experience. Almost 25 years. I'm a CMA level 7 consultant. I hold 70 license certificates which are valid right now, including CISM, CDPO, and CISO, and some of the other like ISO 27001 and so forth and so on. I see Raghu Raoji, he's lost almost 75% of the weight. Last when I saw you, Raghuji. I mean, thank you for coming, sir. And then I hold 7 post-graduation. I'm currently a research scholar. I hold 2 masters there as well. And obviously I'm a consultant right now as well. Along with my wife, we run a consulting company called InvoCore Consulting, and we work predominantly for US clients right now. And we have been delivering consulting projects now for 3 years successfully. Various kind of reports we write. And to that, my research scholarship has helped to write extensive report. Between me and my wife, I'll write almost 100 to 200 pages every day. That is the amount of papers, research analysis we do, and write various financial models as well, write various product models as well, do forecasting for business, write various reports in terms of valuation of business, and as well as the projection in terms of how business is going to go about, in terms of employing people, in terms of the products they are going to offer to the market, and then do a market analysis as well in terms of how the overall market globally is doing, in that region is doing, and how the business is fit to be successful in that market. And those we give to the governments to assess companies, and basis that assessment, these companies get entry into those markets. There are some other forms of consulting we also do in terms of workshops, and which we'll discuss. So logical and meticulous is the word. So heart of consulting is understanding and interpretation of client needs. We have to have a discovery phase in consulting before saying yes or no. Every work that comes our way, we should not be accepting. So we should be cognizant of our skills, cognizance of the effort, and cognizance of the ethical consideration that are required. So consulting has come a long way from the ancient bazaar to the corporate world now. The modern consulting came into existence in Second World War, when the US troops required a consultant or consulting firm to suggest their logistics in the European continent. And then hence McKinsey and Bain's came into picture. This was when McKinsey and Bain's were supposed to tell them about their budget, the war budget for the US Army. The second level of consultants which came into existence was when they wanted to have the various companies, as we know, like Coke, etc., to set up its hub and spoke within the European market, and them to decide the friendly countries as against the hostile countries in which they would put their supply chain and supply food and other materials, at the same time have manufacturing units to make cash for them. So various pharmaceutical companies, various retail companies, which we know today came into existence, and they put shops in countries where the US troops at that time had control. And from there were supplies done to countries where they were fighting. And then eventually, rest is history. Today those companies exist, and the likes of Deloitte and EY and other companies came into existence. One of the quote Peter Block has said is, consulting is the art of influencing human beings at their point of impact with the goal of achieving significant and sustainable output. One of the important aspects of consulting is storytelling. So appealing to the heart, the head and the hand. In the world of consulting, the heart is what I will like to have. Sometimes when I make a decision, I will listen to my heart. So my heart says, I want to have a Mercedes car. Right? Now, if I have to make a decision for Mercedes, I might overlook the cost factors. I might look some of the other factors where I can park that car, or how I'm going to maintain it, because it's a big heart factor. Another factor which is also influencing at the same time is the mind. Do I have the money? Right? Do I have the resources? Do I have the parking to keep? And the last most important thing is resources, hand. Do I have the skills? Do I have the centers to maintain this car, the service centers and other things? So the heart says, this is what I should be doing. The mind says, do you have the resources? The hand says, what is available for me right now? So we have at every stage these three leg stool in consulting where we have to take a decision. And in order to do so, we have to structure our ideas and create memorable stories. Now, to do so, we have to come up with authentic stories, and we also have to remember that any human being has a short-term memory and a long-term memory. A short-term memory for any human being is 3 plus 2 or 3 minus 2. At any point in time, any human being can remember 5 plus 2, 7, 5 minus. So I had done this particular lecture on the pyramid principle. My wife sitting there one morning when I was going to the gym, which is my routine, tells me when I'm in the home that I should bring apple, banana, mango. When I was wearing the shoes, she says bring milk, cheese, butter. By the time I am about to get the car, she shouts and says, okay, bring some cauliflower, bring some ginger and bring some onion. Size. And now I'm able to not remember what she said. Can you remember what she said to me? Can anybody remember? So there were numerous things, but if I divide it into data, there are 3 categories. There was dairy product, there was fruits, and there was vegetables. So 3 things I can remember. Now there is data set below it, which is, okay, fruits, apple, banana, and whatever, vegetables, ginger, garlic, onion, and then we had the third thing. What was the third thing? Dairy product, milk, cheese, and butter. So now you see, if we divide this data into this three segment, which is the Barbara Minto principle. She was a McKinsey consultant in the 70s, and she came up with the theory that a short-term memory for human being can be 5 plus 2 or 5 minus 2, and best 1. So the pyramid principle came into existence. The pyramid principle says and then support it with data. So here I have 3 categories: dairy, and then I have vegetables, and then I have fruits. I have dairy, other categories like milk, cheese, and butter. And I have vegetables, which has onions, which has cauliflower, and which has garlic. And then I have another 3 categories, which is the bottom of the pyramid, which is apple, banana, and grapes. So now there can be further categories, but the data is divided into pyramid, and it is consumable by human being. And as to, we should say the output ahead, so that they know this is what our consulting activity has come out with. This is our report, and supporting the report are 3 data points, and those 3 data points have further subpoints, and this is Barbara Minto's principle of pyramid. So this is something which we can use in our storytelling. And now, of course, we can use various analytical tools in terms of mapping the data into regions. I use it, and I put a lot of videos on this, where you can have India mapped and they put data inside India using Tableau, right? And various forms of data. On clicking, you can get a series of data. I did for all the oil and gas, industry, ONGC, Indian, BPCL, HPCL, Reliance, Adani, and all those guys. You can do upstream, midstream, downstream. You can have the revenues if you have a number of petrol pumps, CNG, PNG, diesel, petrol, all the data in one click. And this whole thing can be done through Tableau, right? And then you can obviously, to do further analysis, can use SPSS, which we use in research. We can use R, we can use Python, and so many other tools to do correlation and come up with the output, and not provide tons of data to the customer or to the audience to interpret it. You provide specific 3 or 5 or 7, not more. Then there are various frameworks and principles. We have the Porter 5 forces, we have the value chain, we have Levins change model, we have Porter's 8-step model, we have the Arcar model, and we have seen it. So we have first the Porter 5 forces. So this 5 forces is existingly used to see if you're going to enter a new market, whether you have an incumbent and you have a rivalry. What is the intensity of the rivalry? What is the substitute products? You might have like tea, you have substitute coffee, right? So would you have a substitute to your product? A transportation system like airways, does it have ships, for example? Europe, for example, a lot of countries have boats to travel between Sweden and Denmark, between Finland and Sweden. People prefer taking the ferries rather than taking the flights or even trains. And this was a major point of contention when they're building undersea road, because the seismic range is such that there are a lot of earthquakes in the region, right? So when doing a project, the consultants are hired to do the feasibility. And this is one of the areas where you can see. And obviously, if you're going into a new market, the bargaining power of the buyers, which might also be, if the bargaining power of the buyers is higher, then obviously they will be able to ask higher prices and reduce your margin. Bargaining power of suppliers, that's another factor. So buyers is one which is of course the customer, if they have a higher bargaining power. So in country like India, where there is a lot of population, there is economy of scale. So buyers are always going to have a better bargaining power, and the elasticity will be high, right? So you will have that particular factor that comes in, and then supplier is there. The threats of new entrants, whether the entry barrier is low, if there is no licenses, low investment, anybody can come into the market. So how long can you have that? So there is this another strategy called, is the business rare? Is it non-imicable? And is the business something which is not substitutable? There's something which is rare, nobody has it. Something which cannot be imitated easily. And then whether it is creating value, right? So those are some of the principles Potter looks at. And then this is one of the fundamental model which Potter came up, which is value chain model, where any business traditionally had a backward integration and a forward integration. The backward integration was supplier, and forward integration what is supply chain through distributor, through the retailers to which they sold the product. But this got terribly shaken up in 2000s, which will be a topic in my next book, and I put my research paper on this. There was a company once upon a time called Nokia. It got displayed by a company. Now Potter value chain says that if you are the outbound, this is your outbound loss, this is the operation. There will be some service provider. So in case of traditional Indian companies like, India had do you remember any Indian phone?
Lava.
There was just before Lava, when I was growing up, there was Videocon, there was Murphy, there was BPL, and another companies. None of them exist now, Sony and others. So BPL and Onida was there, right, at one point in time, and other companies were there. They had suppliers providing them screen, providing them all the ICUs and all that. At one time when they got bankrupt, the money was given by them, and they acquired it. This is how this model works, that eventually your import logistics service provider will be taking you over or providing you service. And then you will be having an outbound where you do sales, marketing, strategy, distributor, retailer and all that. But in case of Nokia, the company was not dislodged by inbound provider. The company was dislodged by somebody who was not in this ecosystem. Neither procurement, neither technology development, even this thing. It was Apple. What was Apple doing that time? It was a PC company. A PC company came into existence and dislodged a company which was not even in its business. And hence it is very important to understand this framework to know what happened in that, which is called value trade. This is another framework which MIT developed, which is another paper I have written, which you will not find easily. But you need to know this in order to know value trade. Value trade says that this is linear value chain, right? The value trade says, I am a music provider. So who provides music? Music company. So it's a music company. Who else is there engaged? Composer. So you have the platforms and you have the developers. Right? People will develop various things. What else is there? Content. Content owner. And possibly content writer. I'm just giving simple example. Now, all of this are different businesses. Music is different business. Do we agree? Apps is a different business. Do we agree? The content business is a different business than music and this thing. And here comes iTunes, which is part of iPhone. Who do you buy iTunes, all the apps, music, content from? Apple. You don't buy from composer, you don't buy from the music company, you don't buy it from developer, you don't buy it from the owner of this app or the platform, you don't buy it from the composer, you don't buy, all of them get royalty. But there is one person you deal with. This becomes value train. Now this is a model which not many people are aware of. If you look at this model, this doesn't apply to Airbnb, right? This doesn't apply to Uber. This does not apply to any platform that you use, because you're dealing with one party only. Over there, when there is a backward logistic company, the backward logistic company is paying whom? If I am DPL and you are providing, making the screen, then you are getting paid. Here Apple is not paying anybody. They are selling on their platform. They are not selling to Apple. They are selling through Apple. And Apple is earning money. This is value chain. Now, traditionally, this service business was like this. And what happened was, the manufacturing and traditional business was growing like this, 100 years. Right? So, what are the big companies of yesteryears? Mercedes. What is the other big company which you had in previous years? BMW. Which else was a big company in previous years? Novartis. What else can be big company? Boeing. Now, past 10 years, which are the big companies? Apple, Tesla, right? Then what? Twitter?
NVIDIA.
Which one?
NVIDIA.
NVIDIA. NVIDIA had 60% profit, right? And what is the growth? Exponential. This took 100 years. This took less than 10 years. Now gradually these companies have realized that they have to move from this business model, working on this platform, to this model, which is value chain. Right? Now what has happened, there was a professor called Moore's principle. How many of you know Moore's principle, Tyagi ji? That meant that electronics will get cheaper and the processing capacity will come higher. Along came something which was what electricity was in industrial revolution, internet. Along came cloud. Together these three brought in a new change, which is what we do in our online. And do you think like a phone, a car can be a platform to buy things? Or you don't use car just to drive, but you do everything. If it's an autonomous car, what do you do sitting? So there are a lot of use cases going this direction. There are a lot of people who are overlooking this. But when I went to MIT to study, this was ancient. But a lot of people even don't know this. So I thought we should be having this. Then Boston Consulting Group has this particular matrix. Most people in business know this. The cash cows, which we call in business, the question marks, the dogs, and the stars. So in any business, there is a cycle. Today, a product which is very, highly selling, which is a cash cow, is high market share, low market growth, will eventually become a dog, low market share, low market growth. And you'll have question mark, should we continue, because you'll have more operating costs to have those products rather than removing those products. And then we have stars, high market share, high market growth, but nothing will remain there. So you will have to constantly take a decision in this matrix and which are the products you want to continue, which are the products you want to reinvest or invest in, and which are the products you want to remove. Another framework is ANSOF framework in terms of how we're going to go about developing the market or diversification or product development, or are you looking at doing market penetration. These are some of the calls you have to take. You might reduce your price and just to penetrate the market and do the business at a loss. A lot of companies have done this. If you look at the top companies in these 10 years and see their balance sheets, right? You will find invariably the Tesla for 6 years had loss. right? Facebook for 5 years was a loss, no revenue. Google for 5 years, no profit, no loss, just continue doing it because they were creating a new market which did not exist, and they were penetrating. Nobody could have thought, when there's a joke, Henry Ford was asked, if I went to people to ask them what they needed, they will ask me a fast running horse rather than a car, right? In an age when people are using sword to fight, if you give them machine gun, they will not listen to you until and unless you show the benefit. So customer does not always know, and you won't have to penetrate the market. My father used to say that in older times in India, the British used to have a person come to every village and offer free tea. So that, because people used to drink milk, and they will have tea, so people who are boiling the milk will add tea into it and start drinking it. And that's how people got used to tea. And then, they penetrated the market, they gave it free initially, now it is sold, it's a billion-dollar industry. So those are some of the strategies which are followed. Then you have some of the other corporate strategies in Porter generic theory in terms of, do you want to have differentiation of a product, or do you want to have a focused differentiation? You want to be very focused in that particular product, or you want an overall cost leadership like a Maruti car, right? Or you want to have a cost focus, right? You want to make sure that your costs are low while your product is equally priced. So those are some of the strategies. You can also adopt ADKAR strategy, where you can create awareness, create a desire, create knowledge in the industry, then create ability. A lot of smartphone apps which you use, and if you see 10 years back, the smartphone we used to use were very small. Why do you think we have larger phones? Because those are platforms for you to do transactions. The phone companies want you to use apps and buy things and use that particular thing. So they are creating an ability for you, an ability for those apps company. And then doing reinforcement, making sure that you're able to utilize it. Then we have the McKinsey 7S. I will skip this. This is important. Whenever change happens, we use this Kotter's 8 change model. One is creating the climate for change. First, you establish a sense of urgency. Second is form a powerful guiding question, and then create a vision. Once you have done that, engage and enable the whole organization by communicating the vision for buy-in, empowering others to act on the vision, plan for and create short wins, and then you implement it by never letting up and creating more change, and 8 institution change into the culture. Now I have a question, and this I get into various trainings I do or workshops I do. Suppose you have an employee and you make a call at 11 o'clock in the night for him to do or her to do a work. What do you do? Should he do? Now the question is, in corporate cultures in India, it is accepted you do it, but you do it once, twice, thrice. Would you do it 4 times, 5th time, 6th time? Can somebody continue call you in the middle of the night? Or let me put another question. We have soldiers. Me and Tyagiji have worked in Afghanistan for the various contracts for NATO, US Army, the various projects. There was once an organization called Blackwater. So the mercenaries, or what they call it, the contractor soldiers. They were paid very highly, more than what some soldiers get. But do you think they would be putting their life, giving their life for the country as against a soldier? Why do a soldier is ready to give his life for a country as against a contractor who is getting many times more? What is the link? The link is a psychological contract, which has 2 elements to it. One is, which is more in terms of the transactional element. The transactional element is that they will be compensated. And then this is a cultural element. The cultural element is that the organization or the society understands it. The organization and society compensates. If they lose their life, there is a society, there is a country which will take care of their loved one. Is there any document which says it will be taken care of in their joining these forces? But it is a unagreed, undocumented, psychological contract with the society and the country. Similarly, every employee has a psychological contract. How do you build that psychological contract? Is you use this framework. You can't just use your authority and call every person in the middle of the night. It won't work until unless you have a relationship with the person and a rapport with that person. That's when you can do something out of the way. And that's when you can do change management, also bring changes. And that's where this particular principle, where you make sure that these 8 steps of quarters are utilized. Similarly, another situation is where you use Levin's change model, where you unfreeze, you determine what needs to be changed, ensure it is a strong support from management to make the change, create the need for change, manage and understand the doubts and corners, and then change, communicate often. There was a time where I was working for one of the world's biggest cybersecurity company, product company. The company decided to split into 2. And I was, have we had an office, swanky office in Gurgaon, new building, one horizon, right in on the where your campus is. So we were every day distributing who will be going into which company and whether they will stay in the company or not. So there was a change, but there was a lot of anxiety. Right now there was people who started leaving suddenly. Now the change management principle had to come into picture, wherein there had to be a communication for the reason for the change, why this change is happening. Right? Now change has 3 phases. First phase is ignorance. People will ignore you. And that is most dangerous. Nobody says anything. They will silently leave the company and go. This second phase is people will fight you. That's the best phase. That means they got engaged. They will resist you, they will fight you, but that is the second. And then third is they will reconcile and accept it. But the middle path will only come when you start communication. And ensuring that it is done regularly. Rumors will be part of, when change happens. We want to make sure that we mitigate and dispel rumors. Empower action, involve people in the process. If you are going to divide the employees, why not take vote who wants to be in which company? Right? Rather than you taking a decision in your own. Then defreeze, anchor the change in the culture. Develop ways to sustain the change. Provide support and training and celebrate success. Peter Drucker, a famous professor, mentioned, and this is there in most of the big companies, culture eats strategy for breakfast. It was further enhanced transformation for lunch, and business goals for dinner. So we need to also see to this particular thing that how and culture can be positive and negative both, right? And I'll tell you a story. I was working in Africa a decade back, and I was working in South Africa for a company which had operation in 38 countries, all countries in South Africa, all countries in Middle East, all countries in the Persian and Central Asia, the Southern European countries. And by that time, the CISO and his team were from one of the big consulting firms, and I knew them from the big consulting firm, but big 4 consulting firms. And one of the large consulting company was running the procurement process. Eventually, we lost the deal, and we had a very competitive price. And I asked the person, "Why did you not choose us? We were India's top 3 companies, and why did you choose somebody else?" And he answered, which was answered, the positive side of culture needs strategy for business. He said, "Sanjay, you work for an Indian company. Tell me something. If your company gave an option to your colleague to go to US or come to, let's say, Rwanda, which one will you choose?" Second question, if you give an option go to Europe or come to Nigeria? Which one will you choose? If you give an option to him to go to Australia or come to Kenya, which one will you choose? Right? So the crux of the matter is that how many people you have here. Right now you're making all your plans based on thinking that people will come from somewhere and deliver. I have been here all my life. I know that might or might not happen. I have somebody who had succeeded to me in the past. He is not perfect. He is not giving me rose. He is not giving me moon. He is expensive. But he is practical. He knows what the costs are, what the risks are. You are naive. Perhaps with the best of intention, because you're not aware of the risk associated in this market. Hence, culture eats for breakfast. From the other side might be having its own perspective. It might be negative as well. And those are things. Then you have diamond theory. The diamond theory looks at the firm strategy and culture. So I am in India. I want to go into a new market. Would I will be successful in that market? It's decided by this framework. And I found it, and I use this very well in all my consulting engagements. Then I have to see if I'm in India, how competitive Indian market is. If I'm sitting in a market where I'm the only provider and I've not been challenged, then if I go to a competitive market, I might not survive. But I've challenged enough. I have enough stamina. I have enough grit. Right? I have seen enough situation. I might be successful in other markets. Demand conditions. Whether the market I'm going to does have demands or not. And I have to analyze that demand. Related and supporting industry. Are there supporting industry and related? If I want to make a car and there is no competent provider, I'm going into thin air with my strategy of going into the market. So I have to see whether there is a existing factor, and then factor conditions. Is the government going to support me? Right? Political, economical, social, technological, environmental, legal, whether the pestle environment is in my favor. And then of course we have the Porter generic theory. I will move to this one, which is one of my favorites. And for of those you who will watch this video later, the 7 C's consulting is one of the dearest of the consulting models. It starts from client. Client is where you have to have an understanding of who you're dealing with, who are the stakeholders. You have to have a clarity in terms of what is that they want. It is the mind, it is the heart, what is the hand, what is driving, because each company will be different. Some customers will be driven by heart, emotions, right? So you have to understand that what is driving them. Some are driven by their minds, their heads, so they will be analytical. And some are driven by what I'm capable of, my hands. You have to understand, because all of these three will be very different, and you have to manage these three very differently. Then create. Then you have to basis that, create your documentation, create your reports, create your analysis, and present. If you are going to present a customer who is thinking from heart, have very analytical things in terms of rational only, that might not fly. So you might have to balance it out. If somebody is very analytical and you're telling him more of the emotional factor, then it will be very different. So you have to create your project, you have to create your reports, you have to create your analysis accordingly. Change. Now, there will be a lot of factors that will come. When you start your consulting assignment, and by the middle of the assignment, there will be new elements will come. You met 7 people when you started, and they briefed you. You started engagement. 6 months into the project, suddenly one new chap comes in. No, this is not how it should be. Now you didn't look at this character. This was possibly a character who was not in authority, but he suddenly came into picture. He was somewhere in the organization. Now there might be sabotage or whatever, so we will be ready for this change which will happen. There will be many such scenarios. I'm just giving one example. And then confirm. To ensure that you don't duplicate your work, you will have man hours. When you do a billing, let's say you do a billing at $100 per hour, 1,000 hours of rate you have taken, logistic cost or traveling and other things you have taken. Now suddenly, after you work and something is changed, your 1,000 hours might become 2,000 or 1,500 hours, and your budget is going double. So you're going a loss in the project. You want to make sure you confirm every time you do something, so that there is no, and you get sign off. So there is no space for everyone. And then have continuity. Make sure that you continue this and deliver it, and then close. So KT, knowledge transfer, is very important. Now, once you finish an assignment, you need to ensure that there will be a period of time where customer can do it on themselves, because by this time you were there holding their hands. After you go, they have to do it themselves. Now, knowledge transfer phase has to be taken into account. Closing is not that you finish and walk out. You have to walk with them to the point they can do it, and then you will have the client coming back to you. And this is what the 7 C's of consulting looks at. So these were the models and frameworks which are there. Then of course you are looking at various problem solving strategies. Brainstorming is one of them. Then Ishikawa, fishbone, is another framework which we can use. I will not dwell much because I do a whole 5 days workshop on this thing. And you can find some of these in the book. Evidence-based problem solving and creating solutions are some of these. One model which I will just take a minute to. A lot of lung power will be able to say a lot, and some people who will not say a lot. So what you need to do is create a cause and effect model. This was developed in Japan. It's called Ishikawa model or fishbone. Now I use it very successfully in my engagements. In this bone, we create small fins, right? And then let's say I say one of my cause is cyber security. Right? In this, I might have endpoint security. I might have privacy. So I will not just put this, I will ask everybody in the team. They might have network security. And the effect might be CIA, confidentiality, availability, or integrity of the organization. I might have reputation of the company. I might have financial loss or regulatory issues, or legal and regulatory issues. So now the cost. But to do this, I will involve everybody. I will have each and every person's point, so that I have everybody's opinion. So that's similarly point 2, similarly point 3, and similarly point 4, and I have a beautiful fish. And then there is chunking down, chunking up method, which is another method which I do in my classrooms. And you can always, you can have management consulting, where you can involve a consultant in doing an analysis of your business, a business model. You can have a strategy consulting in terms of diversifying your business, and somebody doing an analysis of what will be the new business you should be doing and what are the complementary things, because there has to be some connectivity between what you want to do and what you have as skills, as resources, with what you want to do. Because if there is a big gap, then it will fall flat. So the consultant can tell you what are the right things, and then they can also come with projections. What is the overall market share? What will be the customer wallet, and what is the wallet share from the customer, and how you can increase the wallet share by increasing the mind share. So various models are used within that as well. You can have financial consulting. Hitesh ji is already marveling in that. So I will not talk that, and various financial audits are consulted under that. Technological consulting, so Tyagi ji, privacy consulting is something which we do. Cyber security consulting is something we do. ISMS, information security management consulting, risk management, and there's so many plethora of consulting. In past, I have been part of various engagement where consulting in terms of architecture change from the DMZ to SASE, Secure Access Services model, where my laptop is here, which is not in my office right now. I am having a lot of my data on Google Cloud, AWS, Azure. So neither my data is in office. So why should I be connecting to office? Even if I have to connect, there is a new element. Before COVID, a lot of things which we were doing was data driven. So all my firewalls, my IDS and IPS and the switches were based for that. But now what we're doing? Voice, video calls, collaborating, which is a high bandwidth consumption, and it will take latency issue. So it will affect the new element that is come into, or the new kid in the block, which is user experience. Calls will fail, there will be latency, there will be drops in the call, etc., etc. Hence, we require SASE Secure Access Service Edge, where we bring the principles of zero trust, script tunnelings, cloud assurance security broker, SD-WAN, and so forth and so on. So, and then of course, adoption of ISO 27001, the PIMS frameworks, and then now we have AI Act, so those related 31,000, 27,001 for risk management, the IT risk management, and so forth and so on. Human resource consulting is another area where organization dwell in terms of resources they need. They have resources, analytics done, and then there are various kind of services which are offered in terms of background checks, in terms of having resources given for temp to hire, short-term resources, contract resources, and so forth and so on. And then of course marketing consulting in terms of digital marketing consulting, product consulting, brand consulting, integrated marketing communication consulting as well. And then we have the mobile consulting. So this again is a big product management consulting, product development consulting, which are all part of the marketing consulting area. Then there are various types of interventions, right? Consultant is not a typical way in which we think it is. For example, Tyagi is a maverick in data privacy. So he's an expert, he's an authority, right? So he will be an expert consultant. I might be an expert consultant related to cybersecurity or ISO 27000 principle or some of the other principle. So an expert consultant is somebody who holds licenses, who holds authority in that particular area. Then there is consultant as a teacher. I've been doing this now for many years, where you go and teach people what to do. You go to various corporates, you will go to various companies and teach them. Teach them what to do. And this is now getting bigger and bigger as I am seeing this. When I wrote my CMI level 7, I wrote about this, but I am doing this. I'm doing it for BSI, which is Standard Institution, on various this thing, and I go to big corporates, big government companies, the big consulting, big for organization, and this is the best way to bring about change. I'm not involved within the organization, but I tell them how to implement something, right? And I give them a path to connect with me later if they want any advice. Advice in the sense any feedback. Then consultant is why advisor. A lot of companies have a lot of politics, and since they have a lot of politics, the bandwidth of the consultant ends up going into negotiating the power dynamics, negotiating the power or the politics within the organization, which takes him away or her away from the base in which he or she will be used at 8-9 hours in preparing report, doing analysis, running various algorithms, doing number crunching. Rather than that, they become part of the infighting. Now, a lot of people don't want to do that and want to focus rather on their work. And this is where the advisory consultant comes. The advisory consultant is where they will keep providing the advices at various stages and move on. Even better is the process consultant. The process consultant is keeping an eye, right? A lot of government projects have those process consultants who keep an eye and define the process. They will say this is how the process will run, they will audit it later, whether things were done as per the requirement of that process or not. So this is the fourth category of the consultant which can be covered. And a lot of audit firms and internal audit, external audit, first party audit, second party audit, third party audit works on this principle, where a process consultant comes in, looks for those processes against the documents pre-required and gives an NC, non-conformity or an observation and does surveillance of those. So when it comes to global, consulting becomes very different in developing economies as well as today I do, having worked at almost every continent of the world, and almost most countries of the world, there is a big difference when you work in a developing country, whereas you work in a more developing country. And those, political, economical, social, environmental, legal aspect of the business and the individuals have to be looked for. In the developed market, privacy, confidentiality becomes very, very important. You can't just divulge anything. As I said, we make a lot of reports, almost write hundreds of pages most days together. We can't, publish any of our work even as a testimony. It's a legal requirement. You might possibly not be able to do this here as well, but it is not as stringent as it is. And then obviously the terms of negotiations are very different. Another aspect is the nature. The confidentiality part doesn't just apply to what they do. For example, and in this case it is the business itself. I might be into a commoditized business. The commoditized business might not require me to have confidentiality what I'm doing. My competitor is offering something, tomorrow I start offering this. No problems if somebody else comes to me, right? What is the difference? Somebody is selling for 1 rupees, I am selling for 1 rupees. 1 rupees 5 paisa, 95. But if I'm an Apple, right? If I'm a Tesla, would I want my information of what I'm planning to come out with go out to the market? What will happen? Samsung will, not because of data privacy or other reason, it is part of my business model itself. This is how I operate. So there are, in developed countries, there are a lot of such businesses which are innovation based, right? And there are those factors will come. Obviously, payment terms and other factors which are related comes in, how things work, time, what times mean IST versus GMT and other things. So those things have to be taken care of. And we have to adopt to culture. So we work for South American customers also. And we work for Oriental customers from China and other places. And a lot of time we come up with a lot of changes in our reports. And we have to be ready. We can't make it because the customer in Europe doesn't make these changes. Another continent is asking for so many changes. I made 10 changes, 20 changes. We have to be cognizant of what these cultures are, right? And then be adapted to those cultures and not be stringent that one culture they're behaving this way with me, another culture. In India, we have a thing called value for money, paisa vasool. So they want maximum nichod of squeezing out of the lemon. They might ask you to do more, little more. But we have to be cognizant of the culture of the land where we are working. And today with the globalization, we might be working with many customers. So you have to be in nirvana state. Then consulting in digital age, right? A lot of reports we write is digital. So we need to make sure there are backups, right? One computer might fail and you can't stop the work at that time. You might have to have that in cloud somewhere so that you can continue working from that version of that particular file. Then we send files, we receive files, that confidentiality of where it is, how it is sent, who it is sent, have to be maintained. And then there we have to bring a lot of factors into consideration. Who can have access to them, who can watch them, who can change them. And of course we do a lot of meetings digitally, right? So we have to be very cognizant of what we are sharing on our screen at those times and who we are sharing. And then we have to make sure that sustainability is brought in. I spend a lot of time in one place only, just write. My wife does the same thing when we are working. We don't burn fuel, in transport. We don't use air miles or traveling to various countries where we work for. We do e-meetings. We work from that same stations. So we have our own carbon footprint for what we do. So we can all bring that, it is a glamorous business consulting. You can always ask meetings, face-to-face meetings, and travel across the world. Or you can choose to deliver quality work and have remote meetings to the best of the ability. We have to bring ethical consideration. We need to make sure that we take care of confidentiality and privacy. You will have, if you do good work, new people will come and give you business, right? My theory is your universe is that one client you work for. Give them more quality, give them more value for money, and you're going to have much more business from the same customer. However, you do not divulge their work to another customer. So that confidentiality has to be maintained. Taking care of the privacy of that work is very important. Conflict of interest, if there is somewhere you are doing auditing at the same time you're consultant, you can't do that. You can't be the preacher and the checker of the same thing, right? So you need to maintain the confidentiality. Client relationship and trust, we work with various cultures. That means we will have various time zones. Sometimes I wake up middle of the night and reply to mails because the mails are coming at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, because they're coming from different time zone, different from us. But we have to maintain that relationship and be cognizant, of what we are writing. Many years back, when I used to reply to mails, and those were the years we were working, Tyagiji and me, for some of the Middle Eastern and Central Asian countries. I would randomly send a mail. Now I consult, I make draft a mail and take a break, and then send it because like Ketanji once told me, he was very closely working with embassies and diplomats for many years. That how you communicate, the art of communication over electronics makes a lot of difference, especially in international relationship. And then you can build trust over time. If you don't bypass, you create relationship, you can create trust. Professional integrity and standards are very, very important. We get a lot of changes later, after even months, sometimes years, to do something where we delivered the project a year back. And we do this, we ensure that at the same time we are not divulging any of these things. And we take everything into ethical consideration and don't bypass the ethical framework. Not all days are good, not all engagements are wonderful, right? There are tough days, there are bad days, there are good days. You take permanent decisions in temporary situations. Then we have the future of consulting. Technology is disrupting. How do you use AI? Do you leverage it or you keep it at bay? How do you use other technologies? Of recently, in one of the consulting engagements, we have been asked to adopt technology in delivering in consulting engagement, not in writing reports, but assessing itself, right? Using drones, wearable devices, other technologies, and then taking the evidence out of that, rather than just using it in reports. Then again, LLMs, large language models, can be used to run through various reports, thousands of documents in matter of minutes and seconds, right? And see if there are any non-compliances or irregularities in those documents. That again is something which we can do. And then we have AI and automation in consulting, gig economy. Now there are so many Upwork and other sites where you get engagements for consulting, where you can go in, get work and deliver those work, and there are adaptive technologies. Last chapter in this book is how do you manage your consulting firm. Fundamentals for management of consulting firms, include keeping the cost low. It's a very, very glamorous business, consulting can be. So making sure that you're keeping your cost low, marketing your consultancy services, and knowing that if you market, what is the demand you can get, but you have the capacity to deliver it, right? Because it's a manpower intensive work. It is not something where you have a developed product and you just sell it. You need manpower, you need to see whether you have those to deliver that. Cost and fees, right? It's very important. We use time and material, we use fixed costs, and you use outcome based. And you have to take a call whether you are wanting to skim the market or penetrate the market. If it's an international contract, is there any hedging which is to be required? We have our own cost, which is the human resource cost. So you want to build a cost plus model, or you want to put an output model where you want to look at the longevity of the relationship and you bring that particular part. Or you bring a retainer model where there is a retainer fees and then there is an additional fees on top of it. So those are different things that book talks about those fees. Assignment management, it's kind of project management. You have to finish your cost, which you have defined for a particular period, number of resources. Now, if it goes beyond that particular cost or time, you are going to be in loss. And if you have 4 or 5 such engagements, then you are doing a business completely on loss. So you need to make sure that you use various project management principles, the shortest route, and various techniques which are prescribed in project management, crashing the project, etc., at various times. Especially if you're in government projects where they do not mind if the project is delayed, but the project should not stop. Right? Whereas in a private company, time is the most important factor. Quality management, so you need to have some means of ensuring that your reports are checked and reviewed to see to it that quality management is taken care of. Operational financial control is very, very important. If there is any efficiency loss, there is any unwanted cost, that will kill you eventually. Right? Either your fees cost will be non-competitive because of the additional cost you are building, or you might have a situation where even after earning revenue, you might be not getting operating profits or the gross profits of your business. Knowledge management and structuring is very important. Consulting is a work where a lot of knowledge is in the mind of the consultant. And unlike most of the industry, in the traditional industry, you have top management, you have the middle management, and then you have the lower management or the consultants. But in consulting, so this is traditional. But in consulting, it is different. It is with consulting. Why do you think it is with consulting? If anybody can give a reason. Then mid management, and then management. Management does not have as much power in consulting because the customer is interfacing there. Here is customer. Neither management, day to day, the guy, whichever company you're working with, is dealing with that consultant. So he is having the most power. The customer will want that person back. Right? There is a movie called KGF. It says powerful people make powerful places. Right? And we saw this in the big consulting firm having audited some of the big banks which got bankrupt even after the auditing them from big companies. Right? So it's not necessarily that managing the knowledge after the engagement is over, and documenting that knowledge is a very, very important aspect. Finally, there are 3 types of company today. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wonder what has happened. So get a good consultant who can advise you or future company. Read my book and the subsequent editions to know more. Thank you very much. So I know it's what, 5:30 or 6:30? 6:30. So I will ask my 2 faculties to please come and inaugurate my book. Priyanka ji. Aja.
parameters of consulting that are much indeed required for this particular industry to grow, and we will surely recommend this book to our students, to our faculty members as well. And congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you, sir. Priyanka ma'am.
Congratulate you on the book launch and wish you all the best and success for your future endeavors. And we wish you will grow and impart your knowledge and it is very helpful for the industry as well as for both the corporate and education. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Sanjay, for inauguration of your book. And इसे 1 घंटे में मुझे पता लगा कि हाँ मुझे किताब बहुत जल्दी और पढ़नी होगी। मैं हालांकि कंसल्टिंग के दूसरी साइड पे हूँ, हम कंसल्टिंग लेते हैं, ठीक है, बट हम उसमें क्या चाहते हैं ये भी हमें इस बुक से पता लगेगा। सो ये सिर्फ उनके लिए नहीं है जो कंसल्टिंग करना चाहते हैं, ये उनके लिए भी है जिनको कंसल्टेंट हायर करने हैं लाइक अस, राइट। सो मेजरली इसमें जो है, जो मैंने 1 घंटे में समझा, ये कंसल्टेंट हैज़ टू नॉट ओनली लर्न बट ही हैज़ टू नो हाउ टू अनलर्न एंड रीलर्न ऑल्सो, बिकॉज कंटिन्यूसली उसकी जर्नी नॉर्मल एक जॉब करने वाले के मुकाबले डिफरेंट है। उसको आज प्रोजेक्ट 1 के ऊपर काम करना है, आज से 1 महीने बाद प्रोजेक्ट 2 के ऊपर काम करना है, विच कैन बी वेरी मच डिफरेंट, डाइवर्स, राइट। एंड सामने इंडस्ट्री उससे एक्सपेक्ट कर रही है समथिंग। मैं कंसल्टेंट क्यों हायर करता हूँ? मैं उसके लिए हायर करता हूँ कि जो मुझे नहीं आता। हमने कंसल्टेंट के पास वो क्वेश्चन भेजते हैं, EU का AI एक्ट आ गया, कल हमने शाम को, कल परसों एक्ट आया, कल हमने अपने कंसल्टेंट को लिख दिया कि हमें बताइए इसके ऊपर हमारे क्या रेसिपी। तो कंसल्टेंट का काम है कि वो कंटिन्यूस लर्न करेगा, तो लर्न तभी कर पाएगा जब पुराने को अनलर्न कर लेगा, एंड देन रीलर्न। सो इट इज ए कंटिन्यूस प्रोसेस, एंड आई एम ग्लैड कि सच काइंड ऑफ बुक इज हियर, एंड वी विल वेट फॉर द सेकंड एडिशन। थैंक यू सो मच संजय।
I'll request my wife to give.
Yes. Yes, that is. Wait, sir, wait. Yes. Okay, thank you. Yes. Wait, sir, wait. Jishan. Haan ji. Thank you.
Congratulate Sanjay for his success in the book writing stuff. The thing is, like, I'm into the consulting business since many years, and primarily I do consulting for smart cities, public Wi-Fi deployments, and IT services also, cloud deployments. I think a lot of models which Sanjay has mentioned, we are not aware, okay, because we are not from a high-end MBA college or something. I think these points in a summarized way, okay, at least we'll get to know that there are these kind of models which exist in the market, so that we have a channel where we can go and learn about them. I think the book is going to be very helpful. I'll congratulate once again.
And yes. Thank you.
Wishing you, Sanjay, for this wonderful book, and I'm sure it's going to add a lot of value to a lot of people who are going to read this. And to your better half also, I'm sure she must have also worked really hard on this. And let's hope that you do well for yourself in life moving forward also. All the best once again.
But I have always been very proud of my brother. He is very creative, and by this book I think he is very thoughtful also. So hope we learn a lot from this book. Congratulations.
Go down, book. हाँ जी, yes. Okay. Wait.
Congratulations on the book.
and being a consultant for almost maybe a couple of decades, so I can vouch that there are very few books which have so much in detail, and this will surely help consultants like us and maybe many more. And as maybe he rightly said, that this is not only for people who are into consulting business, but also for people who intend to engage with consultants and to maybe know that what they should get from consultants. And so all the best for the hard work maybe which you have put in, and all the best for the staff. Thank you very much.
So very proud of you. Your pillar of strength, Bhabhi, Shalini Bhabhi, who is always there for you. She supported you. Because of her, I think, because of your hard work and because of Bhabhi, you are here. Where you. Congrats.
थोड़ा सा आगे हो गया एक और कर दे दो
सर थोड़ा प्लीज राइट आ दीजिए
थोड़ा सा फेस आ गया
जी सर हाँ जी मैम यस थैंक यू
Wish you all the success in life. Thank you.
Thank you.
एक फैमिली फोटो मार थोड़ा सा इधर करो बच्चे ने इधर लिया एक मिनट हाँ सही है एक और
Congratulations, Papa. I am very proud of you.
Yes. Wait. Sorry.
Appreciate you taking out time and we getting together. That is the most important thing that we got together. This book was just a medium to do that, and बहुत धन्यवाद. And it is so happy moment that we are able to spend this part of our life today together. Thank you so much.